explain your relationship with the business of Star Trek?
Sure. I mean, so a lot of people out there, I don't want to say a lot. People have approached me and they still think that I'm running Star Trek. In fact, I never ran Star Trek.
But that's an easy kind of general thing to think.
Absolutely. With
you were the son of Gene Roddenberry.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, what happens in the industry generally is that when you have an idea and you get through the front door and you're able to pitch it to a production company studio, when they buy it from you, they generally buy it from you, and they give you negotiate in certain creative control rights and other rights. But when my father passed away, those all died with him. And so my family has had nothing to do with Star Trek in terms of the creative process since he passed away. Mm-hmm.
You have been very supportive of most of the Star Trek projects, the Star Trek films. I mean, at least what I've seen, you have been very supportive of the JJ Abrams films and things that, of course, there's a new television show coming out this year. There's another Star Trek film coming out. So, I mean, you've been quite supportive and a total gentleman about the whole thing, from what I can see.
Yeah, and I'm not doing that for any other reason except for what I told you earlier about being overly critical and realizing that first of all, them creating it, they're not Gene Roddenberry. If I were doing it, I would do it differently, but I'm not Gene Roddenberry. I can appreciate what they did do. Mm-hmm. And I know it's easy to harsh on them and say, you know, what they got wrong and what they didn't do and what they should have done. I just appreciate what they did do. If I want it to be different, then I need to step up and make it different. And I've told you, I'm not getting into that game. There's other games that I want to play.
Well, I'll say those two movies that JJ made, I actually really dug them. And my kids liked them too. I mean, we had a great time watching those films. I thought the casting choices were right on.
Casting was
I just had a lot of fun. I'm not sure how I feel about the Beastie Boys being in a Star Trek soundtrack for the next one, but I'm going to be there, man. I will be there, ticket in hand, ready to go. So, let's get back to the 50th anniversary. What else is happening? Okay, can we bring up the stamps? I saw Star Trek is finally getting some stamps, perhaps.
Yeah.
Now, I got to be honest, Rod. Listen, no hate on planets. Love me some planets, but we couldn't make a sheet of Star Trek stamps and put Star Trek in every stamp. I mean,
so I don't know about these planet ones. I've seen the ones on the side.
And I just grabbed this off the internet, so maybe I've got some incorrect information, but I think we should definitely have Star Trek stamps. And I think the whole sheet should be, I mean, why are we not seeing Uhura? Why are we not seeing Sulu? Well, I mean, what's going on here?
Well, and there's something pretty cool, and I'm going to probably explain this incorrectly, so hopefully a viewer can post the correct thing. But something about these stamps, if you notice, there's no number associated to them.
So they're forever stamps.
Exactly.
That's cool.
I'd never heard of a forever stamp.
Yeah.
Of course, I haven't used a stamp in 15 years.
It is a bit of an antiquated idea, but
it is, and it'd be cool if they had digital versions for stamps.com.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think they're great.
Hey, I'm going to buy some. I especially love this one, and I love the Vulcan Klingon, the Klingon Vulcan symbol at the bottom. So I don't know. I just saw that. I would bring it up. I've also heard there's going to be some concerts.
Yes. The symphony. They're doing many iterations of the Star Trek TV series. Original series, Next Generation, etc. A symphony is playing this, and they're traveling all over the U.S.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, not involved in it, but very excited to go see it.
Are you involved in the convention in September in New York?
I am not. Okay. No, I am not involved in that currently. Okay. So, but I don't really do any exclusivity. So if anyone ever wants me to be involved in what they're doing, as long as they're doing it with the right intentions and have integrity, I'm always excited to be a part of it. Anyone who's celebrating Star Trek, and not just Star Trek, but that idea of a better future.
Yes.
I am 100% behind.
All right, better future. You hinted at something. This is 50 years after Star Trek, and the original Star Trek, I mean, it was like a Benetton ad in space, man. I mean, it was inclusive. Everybody was on it, and all races, all sexes. And 66, difficult time.
Yeah, well, I wasn't around, but now, my 42 years, I've learned that it was a difficult time, yes.
2016.
Yeah.
Not so much different. I mean, yeah, we got some iPhones.
Yeah.
We've got some better technology, but a lot of the human problems are still here. I mean, we are involved in wars overseas. We have race and sex issues within the United States. Do you think your father would be disappointed in the future that he would see?
I don't think he'd cast judgment. I think he would say, and he said this before, we are a young species, we're in our infancy, we're going to make mistakes. It's just, are we going to learn from these mistakes? And I think in some ways we have. 2016 has, it's been a year for me where I've reflected, and I'm a little concerned about the division even within our own country, let alone our planet. And the idea of, and I don't want to quote or get political or anything like that, but some of the well, I don't want to, okay. But part of the politicians out there who want to, obviously you know what I'm talking about, build walls instead of looking for a solution of unity. And I understand it's a very hot and complicated topic, just inviting the whole world in without any sort of restriction or registration or whatever, it can be messy. Mm-hmm. But I really believe in that Star Trek future. I believe in the future where it is not countries. We are the United Federation of Planets. But first, we're the United Federation of Continents. And no longer are we divided. We Canada, Mexico, and the U.S., we're all together, and we can freely travel between each other.
Right.
That might sound ludicrous to someone, but I mean, I love the idea. Am I saying tomorrow we should open up our borders and just let havoc? No. I'm saying we need to move in that direction, and building walls does not move us in that direction.
Agreed. And everything you just said, there will be some who watch the show, because I know, and they're going to be like, well, wait a minute, so he's like a open borders guy, and
I tried to clarify as much as I could,
right.
but
But no, I get it. And in that way, you are much like your father in the way that you envision the future. And you know what? It is the vision that you would hope for, logistically and politically, how we get to that inevitable thing. And listen, I'm not saying I'm for some kind of new world order with the same currency and no walls or whatever, but just on a human level.
Yeah.
There's no way to get around the fact that, yes, we are all on this ship together. And Star Trek 1966 was a big part of showing that to a lot of people.
Yeah.
The story, some people will know this, some people will not, but Lieutenant Uhura was thinking about getting off the show. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And she was the very beautiful communications officer. And Martin Luther King Jr., Trek fan, talked her out of it. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Awesome.
And he realized the long-term potential of the show and what it was trying to convey. That better future, where it's not, it's about division again.
Yes.
We are no longer different. We are one people, regardless of skin color. And that's what I love in Star Trek. It's the IDIC philosophy, which stands for infinite diversity and infinite combinations. My father had that vision where so many people look at the original series and say, yeah, look, they had all the different aliens. The diversity was in the physical form. No. That was the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
The diversity my father was talking about was in idea. We as a species had gotten together, and we'd shared our knowledge with each other. We all got along. Everything was great. We moved off our planet to find new ideas because we weren't afraid of new ideas. We realized the only way for us to grow and learn is to be exposed to new things and new ideas, and then incorporate those into our existing ideas. And that's how you grow as a species. Now, it's really easy for me to be on the soapbox here and say this when I'm just as flawed as everyone else. I'm scared of new ideas too. But if we as a species and as individuals can learn to have a rational, down-to-earth conversation with someone who has the opposing point of view, and if they can have that too, think how much you will both gain. You may not necessarily believe them, but you will hear something you haven't heard before, and that'll
over time,
things will fire, and your way of thinking will evolve.
I agree.
We just have to not be afraid to approach those people and say, I look at life this way. How do you look at life? Wow, that's interesting. I never would have thought of that. I don't agree with it, but you know what? It's given me something to think about.